Go live, and you're good.
All right, we're getting ready. It's November 12th, but pretty soon we're going to get locked down again. And this time, we will tell you, this is a Biden lockdown. This is the Biden lockdown, and it's going to be, according to Biden's guy, it's going to be strict and serious, just like Australia and New Zealand. It's coming, people, and it's going to be fun. But that's what everybody voted for. And it's no problem for me to keep my Thanksgiving dinner gathering under 10 people because I don't even know 10 people. But it's going to be tough for some people. They can't have more than 10 people, and they're gonna be checking. They're going to go door to door and knock on doors, especially if you're of the Jewish faith and you're in New York. You had better watch out. You might have to hide someone up in the attic when Andrew Cuomo and de Blasio, those anti-Semites, come for you. Hey, Jeffrey Toobin got fired. What's the world coming to? You can't give it a grab on a Zoom call without losing your job. Thomas Friedman, New York Times Moonbat, has a solution for has a way that liberals can win those two Georgia Senate races. I'll run that by my political analyst, Turtle Boy. And we got the biggest dink at the Boston Globe. That is something. That is being the tallest guy in the Lopez family. That's like being the hottest girl in the Kardashian family, to be the biggest douche at the Boston Globe. But we'll tell you who that is. We got a lot to get to here on the day after Veterans Day on the Callahan podcast, brought to you as always by DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union. Why do DCU members love their free checking accounts? It's simple. No monthly maintenance fees, no minimum balance, no strings attached. What's better is that with direct deposit to their free checking account, DCU members can get paid up to 2 days early. 0 monthly maintenance fees, 0 monthly balance, 0 reasons not to switch. They'll even remove the hassle of switching your direct deposits and automatic payments from your current checking account. Learn more and make the switch today at dcu.org/free checking, insured by NCUA, membership required. All right, Cullinane is here. Turtle Boy's here, and he looks grim. We're doing our Facebook Live thing, and you look bummed because you know, remote learning, virtual classrooms, they're not ending anytime soon. People have spoken. The American people voted for more lockdowns, and they're coming. And look at Turtle Boy's face. He's like, God, no.
I think right before the show, I told him how many viewers we had on Facebook Live yesterday. He wants to be the only guy who drives viewership on Facebook Live. He's pissed off about that. That's right.
Come on. I mean, Shattuck, he's such a good-looking guy that I think a lot of women tune in just to watch Shattuck. Look into his eyes.
He's very handsome.
Yeah, hey, actually, before we dive into it, he has one. You weren't going to get this shot, Turtle Boy. We get your Masters prediction because we're in a rain delay. I wasn't going to allow it because it would have started already, but we're in a rain delay, so we can get your Masters prediction, Turtle Boy.
That fat guy Jerry hates that one a couple of years ago. The one
that agreed.
Yeah,
that's a good choice. That's a good choice. He's the one guy that people root against. There's not a lot of villains in golf, although I think Bryson DeChambeau is getting there.
I kind of root for him.
But you can root for Patrick Reed, the guy who had his own parents kicked off the course because his wife.
It was his wife. It was his wife. He's just
his wife. I know, but how henpecked can you be? His parents come to watch him play. I think it was at Pinehurst, and he found out. They bought tickets and showed up. He found out and had them removed from the premises. What a low quality!
He's a coward.
That's a good pick. I don't know what his odds are. He's got to be fairly high up there in the odds. But I got who do I have? Xander Schauffele. Shattuck has Patrick Cantley. I signed him, and I know you wanted Sergio, but who'd you pick when Sergio?
I picked Dustin Johnson. My wild take was that DeChambeau will not make the cut. I am revising that take. He's going to make the cut. I didn't factor in the rain because the long ball while it's raining, that's a big key.
It's going to be weird because it's November. Obviously, that's weird, and the azaleas aren't blooming. But it's also they don't have as much daylight. There's 2.5 hours less daylight, so they're going to be hustling. And DeChambeau's the slowest. It's going to annoy a lot of people because it's going to get dark early. And normally on Sunday, it's like, 6:30, 7 o'clock when the winners are finishing? It's going to be middle of the 4 o'clock games. and they're going against the NFL. That's not good. Unless Tiger is playing, in the final group against DeChambeau, they're going to get crushed in the ratings by the NFL. Even though it's the Masters, it's the best TV sporting event there is. I can see how excited Turtle Boy is to watch this guy, Patrick Reed. The NFL trounces everybody, so it's not going to be good for them if they're going against the 4:00 slate on Sunday for TV viewers. Although, I assume the weather's not going to be great, so people are going to be stuck inside. Actually, the law is going to force them inside. You can't go. When do these Biden lockdowns begin anyway? I mean, I know they begin now for Jewish people in New York. They're not allowed to go outside. But for everyone else, the Biden lockdowns begin when?
I will never participate. I will be resisting, Jerry. The resistance has begun, and they will begin with the lockdowns. I will not be locking down at all. I will be ignoring especially the Thanksgiving requirements, which are hilarious. Have you read them?
I have, and you're allowed 10 people. I mean, it depends what state you're in, but let's be honest. These governors, these tyrants, they compete to see who could be the strictest. And Cuomo has said you can't have more than 10 people. Gavin Newsom in California said you can't have more than three people from 3 different households. And the maximum time they can spend at your house is 2 hours. And in California, they said it can't be outside or inside. So you could have you can only have 10 people at a picnic table in your backyard in California if you live in like the rural, whatever, Central California.
But it's not just, Jerry, it's not just California. Like, these are CDCs. CDC is a national organization. These are things on their website that they want you to do for Halloween. They want you to plan ahead and ask guests to avoid contact with people outside their households for 14 days prior to Thanksgiving gathering. So you have to literally quarantine before Thanksgiving so you don't infect anyone. You have to treat pets as you would other human family members. Don't let them interact with people outside the household at Thanksgiving. So if you have friends over and you have a dog, keep it locked up.
Hold on. You're reading the CDC website and they say you can't interact with pets?
CDC. You can interact with your own pets, just not other people.
But hold on. But if you interact with, I don't understand. I've been following this stuff pretty closely, and you have too. What does interacting with a pet do? How does that spread anything?
Stop asking questions. Just stop. No questions, please. No questions.
Pet COVID fear is real. My doggy daycare got shut down. No, it's real. It is real. You should see the Facebook page. People.
How about this one? This one's a good one. All attendees should have a plan for where to store their mask while eating and drinking. Keep it in a dry, breathable bag, like a paper or mesh fabric bag, to keep it clean between bites.
Wow. These people have lost their minds, but again, they know the American public, at least until we have all our recounts and we adjudicate all these legal issues, and Trump wins. If he doesn't win, if it looks like Biden's going to win, people voted for it. You voted for lockdowns. Did you see what Naomi Wolf, that moonbat left-wing feminist, said? I think it was Wednesday or Thursday after the election. She said, she tweeted, she said, I didn't know Biden was in favor of lockdowns. I never would have voted for him if I knew. She said that. And she got savaged on Twitter. But I mean,
that's what you get when you run a campaign and you don't have to answer any questions ever. Biden never had to answer any questions about anything, and the media just let him get away with it because, well, you're not Trump. That was literally the whole plan. Was, well, you're not Trump, so we'll find out what you are soon, which is apparently a tyrant.
The whole plan was stay in the basement and let the media campaign for you, and it worked. I mean, it was an unusual strategy, and at times it seemed like it might backfire. I mean, like at 11 o'clock on election night, it seemed like it backfired when he was getting, he was losing Michigan by 14% and losing Pennsylvania by 12. You're saying, wow, that didn't work. Turns out it did work. You obviously, part of the plan was to cheat and get dead people to vote and throw away Trump ballots and backdate Biden ballots. But in the end, he hit out. The media carried his water, did all his campaigning for him, and it worked. So now people like Naomi Wolf are finding out, what was in that bill. As Nancy Pelosi said, we're going to pass it, and then we'll find out what's in it.
Later,
you elected a guy, and now you find out what he stands for. And yesterday, I wonder how many people, and I realize people like you and me were paying close attention and would never, ever vote for more lockdowns. But I wonder how many people like in Boston or New York or San Francisco, LA, just reflexively voted for Biden and then found out that, their business is going to be shut down or their school is not going to open. And this is not ending anytime soon. We know it, right? I mean, after they get the vaccine, and we can get to that. That's another scandal. That's incredible that they held the vaccine news till after the election. And if you followed this, the FDA knew they had the vaccine ready to roll out and got the Pfizer to wait until after the election. Because the FDA is part of the swamp and they wanted to defeat Trump, and they did. So they said 3 days after they declared Biden the winner, let's tell everyone we got a vaccine. Anyway, and wait till Trump goes public with all this. It's going to be wild when he starts telling his side of the story at these rallies that he's going to have around it's going to be wild, but we'll get to that. I want to get to this guy. What the hell's his name again? Michael Osterholm. Michael Osterholm is part of Biden's 13-member COVID advisory task force. He's going to be an advisor to the president, kind of like Ezekiel Emanuel, the guy who thinks that everyone should die at the age of 75. He's the advisor to a candidate who turns 78 next week. And by the way, the whole government is run by people older than 75, Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and Dr. Fauci, and they're all past the age where Dr. Emanuel, Zeke, thinks they should wander off into the wilderness and die. This guy, I mean, it's bad enough when you have that ghoul, but this guy, Osterholm, here's what he wrote in the New York Times. He said, the previous lockdowns we had, Turtle Boy, from March to May, when we locked down hard, put a lot of small businesses out of business, a lot of restaurants, a lot of gyms, just put them out of business. The unemployment rate was 40%. I mean, they just, destroyed the economy briefly before Trump did his best to bring it back with the V-shaped recovery. That's going to end soon. But anyway, here's what the new advisor to our president-elect, alleged president-elect, here's what he has to say. The problem with the March to May lockdown was that it was not uniformly stringent across the country. For example, Minnesota deemed 78% of its workers essential. They get to go to work. He didn't like that. To be effective, the lockdown has to be as comprehensive and strict as possible, quote, like they did in New Zealand and Australia.
Oh, right. By just destroying is he aware that you can't, you have to shut your borders completely in New Zealand? That's what they did. Is he willing to shut America's borders completely?
We're going to make America an island. Okay. Right. We're just going to cut off Canada or Mexico, make an island, because that's what they did in Australia and New Zealand, and don't let anyone in or out. Yep. And by the way, did you follow how strict it was in Australia and New Zealand? It was insane.
A woman for making a Facebook group in Australia. She got arrested for it.
You couldn't leave your house, I believe it was for more than an hour. You couldn't travel more than 3 miles from your home. And if you protested, they arrested you. They don't have like that pesky First Amendment. They don't have that. So if you spoke out against the lockdown, they arrested you. This guy, this Osterholm who has Biden's ear, that's what he wants for America. But here's what's insane, and you know this, and you pay fairly close attention. Can you show me the evidence that says lockdowns work? Can you show me where that is?
Because there is none. They'll argue, and I've made this argument a million times. Like, look at the control group. The control group was Sweden. They didn't shut down anything. They had no lockdowns, nothing. They didn't have mask requirements, anything. They just went on living their lives. They had a bunch of people die in April, and now nobody dies. This spike that you're seeing across Europe in these lockdown countries, it's not happening in Sweden. You're seeing a spike in cases in Sweden, the same rate you're seeing everywhere else, but nobody's dying because they're all immune. They've all beaten the virus. They're healthy there. It doesn't matter anymore. You cannot hide from this virus forever. You have to go through the virus. And yes, some people are going to get picked off, the weak ones outside of the herd, but that's life. Sorry, we don't stop because you have let yourself go for the last 40 years and refuse to exercise and do anything. And now all of a sudden a virus comes along that picks on the morbidly obese. And we're just supposed to cater to you because you've done nothing and you're supposed to be rewarded for this.
Well, even if you wanted to do something, we closed the gyms and forced you inside. The solution is close the gyms and force everybody indoors where the virus is transmitted, not outdoors. And I thought, and we've heard people say this, we learned something in the spring. And it felt like, when the economy was coming back, when Trump was leading this economic resurgence, I felt, we've gotten past that stage where we're supposed to hide inside from the virus and not go to work and not go to school and not shop and not, live our lives. We're going backwards now, man. We're going backwards. We went over the rules for Thanksgiving, where you can't have more than 10 people. You got to wear a mask and put a mask on little kids now, which in the spring, even we said little kids don't need to wear masks. They don't get the virus. They don't give the virus. So that it's crazy. But now people are, I see it every day. People are like wrestling with their 3-year-olds to put the mask on, to walk around the city, let alone forget going in a grocery store. You got to just go outside. You got to put a mask on a little kid. But I'd like to go over these things again. And I know the thing that matters is the death rate. The death rate is what matters most, not the cases, unless you're on CNN and you play that somber music and you talk about the spike in cases. Cases don't matter. If they're college kids who are required to get testing and they get tested and they're 19 and they get test positive and they don't even know they have it and they sit inside for a week and they're better, who cares? That's not important. The death toll is important. Death per 1 million is the statistic that matters most. Here's your
they're saying hospitalizations are up to that they're being overflown. I don't believe that for a second.
And so what does that mean? They're going to put the coronavirus patients in nursing homes now?
Well, but they're doing this whole thing again where it's like, well, the goal is to not overwhelm the hospitals. Remember that was the lie we were told at the beginning. Yes. We don't want to overwhelm the hospitals, right. And they were never overwhelmed. And now they're using that lie again. Is that, well, deaths aren't up, but hospitalizations are up. Oh.
Here's your death toll per million, which is to me the most important barometer of what works and what doesn't. Here's number 1, New Jersey. Number 2, New York. Number 3, Massachusetts. Number 4, Connecticut. Louisiana's 5, Mississippi 6, Rhode Island 7, DC, District of Columbia 8. But you know that if these were countries, they weren't states, do you know where they would rank? If these were countries in the world rankings for death toll per million, do you know where New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts?
Probably the highest.
They would rank exactly where they ranked in states. They would, if they were countries, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts would be 1, 2, 3, Connecticut 4. The country that has the highest death toll per million is San Marino. I don't even know what that is. It's a country.
It's in Italy. It's a country in Italy, I think.
Country in Italy.
Yeah.
Number 2, Belgium. None of them are anywhere near in death per million to New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut. What do those 4 have in common, other than they all have petty tyrants for governors? They had lockdown.
Densely populated areas. The 2 countries that you just mentioned too, Belgium and San Marino, those are the 2 of the most densely populated countries in the world. I mean, it doesn't take brain surgery to understand that if you live amongst people closely, the virus will spread more quickly. So it is what it is.
There's no question, but there's plenty of densely populated areas that are nowhere near that number. And I'm going to guess, I'll look up, Stockholm, see where they rank, because
they have no problem.
These are states with serious lockdowns that as you know, no one got to go to school. They put all the businesses out of business. The governors were proud of it. Whether it's Murphy, Cuomo, Baker, Lamont, these are proud, petty tyrants who are looking forward. These are all Biden supporters, by the way, who are looking forward to the strict lockdowns that are coming under President Biden, who promised lockdowns. I mean, obviously, they kept that under their hat. The media didn't let you know because stupid people like Naomi Wolf voted for him and then said, wait, he believes in lockdowns? How can that be?
Yeah. And I'm seeing people say that that Sweden is not densely populated, but that's not true. 80% of people in Sweden live in an urban area. It's the same as Illinois. They have very similar graphics to the state of Illinois. It's like, they have the one big city, and then yes, the rest of the freaking country, people, ride with dogs on sleighs around and stuff like that. But 82% of the people in Sweden live at the bottom of Sweden, not the top. So yes, it's pretty densely populated.
I mean, you want to go over some densely populated places that don't have nearly the problem that New York and New Jersey do? I mean, we could do that.
Yeah, like Mexico City. I mean, what about, if you trust the Chinese, are they having an issue? Did they defeat it or what? Do we just not trust them? Shanghai have corona still?
The death toll per million, you go San Marino, Belgium, Peru, Andorra, Spain, Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, U.S. The U.S. is 10th, 746 deaths per million, which is less than half of New Jersey, New York. It's about half of what Massachusetts is doing right now. The country as a whole, Mexico is one behind. They're 11th. But there are densely populated areas. I mean, I don't know how densely populated every place is in the world, but give me a place that's like Bangkok or whatever, India. I mean, they're nowhere near as bad as these lockdown cities in the United States. But we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again because someone decided. And when you watch their press conferences, when you hear someone like Cuomo, someone like Baker, these real a-holes that just don't care, that they ruin lives and ruin businesses, that just want to they just want to bask in their control and say, here's the rules for Thanksgiving. You will not have more than 10 people. They will not stay more than 2 hours. They are prepared to marshal the forces. I mean, do you have any doubt that on Thanksgiving night, as we're watching, football, or you're watching a movie with your kids, that if you watch the news, you'll see examples of the NYPD, breaking into some, knocking on the door and going into some Jewish person's home in Brooklyn and breaking up a family dinner. That's what they're going to do. Cuomo has said he's going to do it. He has no compunction. It doesn't faze him that we saw during the riots, celebrations for Biden the other day when Schumer and others were at de Blasio were out there, crowds all around them, yelling, screaming, singing, partying, lots of them without masks. Schumer had no mask on until the cameras caught him, and he put it on. At the time, and I've said this before, I'll say it every damn day because it's so friggin' disturbing. People should know this. They busted a woman in Brooklyn who owns a pottery store because they said she was doing something. They charged her with like holding a class, which she wasn't doing. But because she's Jewish and de Blasio and Cuomo are anti-Semites, they went in her shop the very moment that the celebration with tens of thousands of people was going on down the street. So if you want to have a party, and I know you have a big drunken Irish family ready to get together for Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, we're doing it anyway. That's the thing about this. I don't know where they get this idea. You can't. Oh, I assure you, you can do whatever you want. This is a free country. If the police come to your door on Thanksgiving, you're free to just not answer the door. You can do whatever you want in your own home. You don't have to give these tyrants the power that they don't have. They mean nothing.
Well, they're coming for you, and I have a solution. It's an easy one because you can find one of these in your neighborhood. Just get a Biden sign and get a BLM sign. And just when they come, say, oh, no, we're celebrating.
You say that facetiously, but it's 100% true. Like 100, that's all you have to do is just say, "Whoa, no, peaceful protest." You misunderstood.
Do you think Charlie Baker would ever bust you if you had a BLM sign and you said, "Oh no, we're protesting systemic racism, Charlie"? I mean,
look, it's all up to your local police. And this is where, once again, the police are going to be put to the test. And I'm sure a lot of police listen to this podcast. So I'm urging you, right? You don't forget who had your back during literally the hardest time in the history of policing. Okay. Like 5 months ago, it's the people that don't want to lock down. Those are the only people that didn't want to burn you at the stake and throw you under the bus. You owe us. Okay. You owe us.
Boston police hat on
Yeah.
just to show my support.
Like when it
it's
was
true.
fashionable to hate you and want you defunded and you fired and you're all animals and all this and you must resign, we stood by you. So please don't forget that. Don't enforce tyrannical rules. Don't do it.
It's
hey,
easy to say, and I agree. 98% of the cops don't want to do this, but the power, and I don't know where they derive it from. They don't have it. They just think they have it. But the power of these governors, these tyrants like Cuomo and Baker, who are ruining lives. I mean, Cuomo's daughter started dating a state trooper in New York, and Cuomo, who's like a mafia don. That has nothing to do with ethnicity. It has to do with the way the level of power that he thinks he wields. He had the guy shipped off to the North Pole, actually the border of Canada, like Buffalo or somewhere, because the guy was dating his daughter. And according to the kid's mother, the cop, that they're still in love and still dating, but now he has to drive like 4 hours to see her. That's
How
what
old is
Cuomo
his
did.
daughter?
She's like 26.
He doesn't want her to have sex. Like he doesn't want her to have a
He
boyfriend.
doesn't want to date a cop. You know, he's a Cuomo, so he probably wants her to like date a Kennedy.
But the Cuomos are like freaking meatheads, though. Like at the end of the day, they're the biggest meathead family. I mean,
stupid.
Chris Cuomo,
They're stupid.
Tucker's segments on Chris Cuomo are the
great.
funniest things I've ever seen because he understands that guy so well.
He caught him yesterday, Tucker, and he's so good on this, and he's so funny. He calls him the weightlifting correspondent. He caught him getting a haircut, by the way, without a mask on, which you can't do that. I mean, unless you're someone special. If you go in to get a haircut, they give you the mask, and they say you got to keep it on. Hell, my friend who cuts my hair, he's like, I mean, he hates these lockdowns, but he says he doesn't want to get caught. You get busted. And they have people out there looking, to make sure they're following all the rules. But the rules aren't for Cuomo's. They don't. They do their own thing. And won't it be disgusting? I mean, literally nauseating if Andrew Cuomo gets reelected. Won't that? Of
course, he's going to get reelected. Why wouldn't he get reelected? He's like
he killed 11,000 senior citizens.
Hasn't bothered anyone so far, Jerry. It's all Trump's fault. Don't you understand? Because of the PPE, he didn't get them enough PPE, Jerry. And
well, that's right. And Cuomo actually, because he hates Trump so much, he says this virus came from Europe, not China. I'm like, what? I mean, you got to pick your spots here, Andrew. We know it came from China. Nobody thinks it came from Europe, you idiot. But anyway, he's such an asshole. And
you know what I'm looking forward to with Trump, by the way, is burning Fauci. He's been very delicate with Fauci because he knows that firing Fauci would be bad politically because he's popular. But once he has nothing to lose, I'm looking forward to him just burning Fauci on the way.
There's a headline right now that just hit the wires from Fauci, and it says crisis won't be, quote, a pandemic a lot longer due to vaccines. So he's
all during the campaign, this phony Fauci was saying it's going to be 2021, 2022, 2023. We're going to be the new normal. We're not going to be able to do anything for another 2 years. And now that his guy Biden won, the vaccine's coming.
So here's the exact quote. This is from some. It's not on GMA or anything this morning. It's from some speaking engagement. Quote: I doubt we're going to eradicate this. We need to plan this. We need to plan that this is something we need to maintain control over chronically. Maybe something that becomes endemic. It's certainly not going to be pandemic for a lot longer.
No, shut up. I'm with you, Turtle Boy. I can't wait till he fires him. It's going to piss off, CNN, they'll do round-the-clock coverage of how he treated this guy so unfairly. But here's the bottom line. Here's what you have to keep in mind about Fauci. He's been in this place in the government for 50 years. He's had the job he has now for 37 years. Think of someone who's been in the government for 50 years. There's not many. Or
Joe Biden.
Like a Biden or, Pelosi, Schumer. You have to be, number one, above all else, a politician. You have to be a phony. You have to be a chameleon. You have to be someone that ingratiates himself to the right people. You can't have any convictions. He's a politician. He was a huge Hillary fan, and he's a huge Biden fan, and he just played the game to survive under Trump. Probably the same thing he did under Bush or Reagan. Is he's a political animal, and he says what he has to say to survive. The guy has no convictions, no real character, and that's how he survived 50 years. And his thing is to survive until he dies in office. He doesn't ever want to retire. He's such a friggin' egomaniac. I mean, he does interviews with anybody who. We could get him on. Call him right now, Dave. He'll come on with us. He can't help himself.
Call him
He
right
loves
now.
the camera. But Trump's going to fire him. I'm with you. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to enjoy it. I hope he fires the whole bunch of them. Anyone that wants to lock down should be fired. But Trump is right now fighting it out on all these legal fronts, and he should. He's going to exhaust all his legal avenues. We now know there's been cheating in all these states, and I know your take on this, but
no, go ahead. What do you think my take is?
He should pursue all this fraud, expose all this fraud, even though it's not going to flip the election. He's got lawyers on the ground, even though the Biden people, all the hacks, all the entrenched Democrats are making it difficult. If you heard from Kayleigh McEnany yesterday, she said that they got all these charges that they're harassing their people and calling them racist names. She's got an Asian lawyer on the ground in Michigan, and they're calling him all kinds of slurs, trying to make his life uncomfortable as he's doing the research that needs to be done, doing the looking at the evidence. There's all kinds of cheating, right? I mean, the idea, the mainstream media's mantra is no evidence whatsoever, unsubstantiated charges. The headline in the New York Times yesterday was investigators find no fraud in the election. I mean, that's just a flat out lie.
And then Tucker comes on last night. It's really not hard. You just go through the voter rolls. A lot of dead people have voted. I mean, the biggest scam in all this, like in states like Nevada, is that you didn't even have to request the mail-in ballot. They just sent it to you. I know people that got multiple, like my mom got mail-in ballots sent to her for a couple of my brothers and sisters. They don't live there. She could have just voted for them. I mean, it doesn't matter in this state, but it matters in some states. And here's why it's not going to work for Trump, even though we have all this evidence, is that how do you prove that those dead people voted for Joe Biden?
It's a good question. I mean, I guess, do they have rights if they're dead? Can you look at the ballot? I know you can't.
Do you put your name on the ballot?
Well, how do they know they voted?
Because they can. There's like a list of people who voted. You're checked off on the list if you voted, but it doesn't say who you voted for.
So you can't match them up. It doesn't matter. I mean, the whole thing was designed to steal the election, and it worked. I mean, mail-in balloting had nothing to do with COVID. We know that. It was just a way to make it easier for Biden to win. And if you look at the numbers, we did it yesterday. The numbers were overwhelming in Trump's favor at 10, 11 o'clock on election night. You've never seen anything like it. It just flipped overnight. Everybody knows. Everybody at CNN, New York Times, they know that this was not on the level. But they devised a plan, this mail-in balloting, mail-in voting, and they knew they could use it to win the election. And they knew, as you explained, there's really no way to expose it to the point where you would ever swing the election. So we all know, and I've used this analogy before, the scene with Robert Redford and Paul Newman in The Sting, where Paul Newman wins all the card games, and the guy says to Robert Redford, "How does your boss do it?" And he says, "Easy, he cheats." I mean, cheating is one thing, getting caught is another. It's like when Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire and Roger Clemens were cheating, Manny Ramirez were cheating their asses off. There was no way to catch them. Everyone knew they were cheating. They knew illegal steroids were against the rules, but there was no mechanism in place. Even
if there's no, let's just say there's no vote. Let's just throw it out there. Let's say there's no voter fraud. The mere fact that you're sending out ballots to people to make it easier for them to vote who are not inclined to vote seems problematic to begin with, right? If you can't get because it's just so I bet you how many people voted. The reason voter turnout was so much higher this time is because people who never would have voted before were like, "Oh, you mean I don't have to move? Oh, sure. You gave me a stamp. Fuck it. Yeah, let's throw it in there." I mean,
if you don't let them vote, what do you call that, Turtle Boy? Voter suppression. If you don't make it so easy that they don't have to do anything, that someone, Democrat operative, could go to their house, say, "See that thing you got in the mail? Why don't you just check Biden's name, give it to me, and I'll turn it in." Ballot harvesting is legal in a lot of these places in Pennsylvania. You can have someone go to an apartment building, with a bunch of apathetic people that don't care about voting, say, you got a ballot in the mail yesterday. Why don't you give it to me? And as if you see the videos from James O'Keefe, sometimes you get valuable prizes if you turn the ballot in and you vote for their guy. They'll give you a basket of goodies like you get if you bang Derek Jeter. Here you go, a nice basket of treats. Just vote for Biden. They cheated in so many ways, it's impossible to keep track. And they know their allies in the media will say, no fraud, no fraud.
Yeah. But question, how do the Trump lawyers see this ending? Suppose that a judge rules, okay, there's widespread fraud. Now what? Do we redo it?
Well, that's what they, they would like. Yes, they would say.
It's not going to happen. We're not going to have a redo. They
Right.
really think that's a thing that's going to happen?
You know how it ends? The way it ended, and this is on the level, unlike 4 years ago, it ends with a big asterisk next to the election, and everybody knows that Biden cheated. Everybody knows it was illegitimate, and then Biden gets inaugurated, and the media does what they do. They say there was no fraud, there was no cheating. This is totally legitimate. But people who pay attention, like you and me, know it's not. They know that there was widespread cheating in all the key places. Georgia, they're doing a hand recount, which is going to be interesting because they have, Republican attorney general and a Republican sort of governor. The problem you have in, Philly, Detroit, Milwaukee is they're all Democrats. They're all part of the scheme. They're all in on it. That's why they kicked out the observers in Philly.
Question about the hand recount there. Now, do they have to, when they can recount the ballots, are they tallying for all of the other elections too, including Senate?
Yes,
and state
David Perdue could win.
So he could win. He could win.
He could win. I believe I just saw them talking about that. And I just saw Tom Cotton talking about it. And he could win. David Perdue could get to 50% and win that election, which would be great.
That all that does, by the way, is increase the chances for human error. If the people tabulating it and they're doing their tallies 1, 2, 3, 4 cross, if they're responsible now for counting every single thing on the ballot, not just the Trump thing, that increases the chances of human error, which benefits Trump.
Here's why the media is so dishonest, is because they know. I mean, it's same old story. I feel like broken record here, telling you how they're lying to you, but they will say no fraud. I don't know if you look at the New York Times, no one reads it, but if you look at the Globe, the Washington Post, CNN, they'll say no fraud, no evidence of fraud, no cheating, no cheating. They know that's not true. They know that's 100% not true, but they also know, like you said, there really is no way this ends any differently. This ends with President Biden. They're going to expose massive fraud. They already have. I mean, I would love to ask, one of these hacks, these CNN, guys, these Chris Cuomo's, Don Lemons, or Thomas Friedman's, or whoever, Maggie Haberman's, what they think about all the dead people voting, because that's obviously fraud. That's obviously cheating. There's obviously some Democrats somewhere saying, here's an idea. Let's get these dead people who are still on the rolls and get them to vote for Biden. So there was something nefarious going on. You can't deny that, right?
No, you can't. You can't. Yeah, absolutely.
Every time I tweet about it, and every time, I'm sure you're the same thing, you get 100 Democrats saying, there was no fraud, there was no cheating, none whatsoever. You go, yeah, but we just saw dozens and dozens of dead people who voted.
Well, we know there was fraud. They admit there's fraud in every election. I mean, you're telling me that every single ballot out of 150 million cast is legitimate? Come on, everybody knows there's going to be some fraud. The question is, was there 20,000 instances of fraud in Wisconsin that directly benefited Donald Trump? That's what you have to prove in court.
Well, but we know in Pennsylvania, in one day, from a bunch of different nursing homes, 25,000 mail-in ballots were requested in one day from the nursing homes in Pennsylvania. So these people, all these old folks, some of whom probably don't even know what day it is, all requested a ballot on the same day. We know in Georgia, I believe, the number of ballots that only had a presidential candidate checked, either Biden or Trump, and didn't have anyone else down ballot. No one didn't vote for anyone else.
Yeah, but that's
there was 800 for Trump. There was 90,000 for Biden.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
people
all-
do that, but people do that in general. Like a lot of people just showed up and only voted for the first thing on the
No,
ballot,
but
which is
that's
president.
unprecedented. There's never
It's
been
not
any.
unprecedented. I've talked to
Okay,
other people.
again, I'll get the numbers, but and you could tell me that this happens all the time because it doesn't. It was 100 times more for Biden than it was for Trump. I'm not saying
Oh,
it
for the
doesn't.
people, for the people that just voted for president and only president.
Correct. I think
Okay.
I read.
But that could be just the enthusiasm of getting people out to vote for. I mean, there was a gigantic push on the part of Biden, a get out the vote campaign that didn't happen with Trump. You never heard Republicans say vote, 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 vote. You never heard that, did you?
I mean, we didn't hear it where we live because we never hear it where we live.
Well, because we were going to vote anyway. That's the thing about conservatives. We don't have to be told to vote. We're going to vote. The liberals know that they need to get people who are clueless and don't know anything about politics and tell Lady Gaga will tell you to go vote. So you're going to go vote. That's what you're going to do. It's just, they know how to play the game. They're very good at politics, Jerry. They're very good at winning. And it is what it is. Republicans have a problem going forward, man. I don't know. We have a 3 million vote problem, Jerry. This is 2 elections in a row. We've lost by 3 million votes. There's a bunch of ways the Democrats can win presidential elections. There's like 3 ways Republicans can, and it all involves winning like Pennsylvania and these states where we're underdogs going into it. If that's not a solution, and then you look at Texas, that's not trending the right way. Like we need something to happen here. We have an issue.
How about Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia's a problem. I mean, what are the states that are going redder? What are the states that are going redder? Indiana, Missouri, those have gone red. Like Missouri was a swing state during the Bush years. Indiana went to Barack Obama, but now those states, they were red to begin with. Now they're just redder, which doesn't do us any good because it's the same amount of electoral votes. Democrats are making inroads in swing states, and therein lies the problem.
Well, I've said it, for a long time. It's getting worse, and this might, this could have been our last stand if Biden gets in, and he's going to get in. He opens the border and lets in, tens of millions of new Biden voters or new Democrats. That's the whole reason. Democrats used to be against open borders. I mean, if you've seen like Bernie Sanders 20 years ago, he was hardcore against open borders. He was an anti-illegal immigration hardliner. And someone convinced him this is the way we changed the demographic. They were losing ground in many states. And they said, you know what we do? We change the demographics. We bring in a bunch of new voters, and they did. And it's working. That's why it's, Texas and Arizona, these border states.
Okay. So here's what you do. So you have to fight fire with fire. So the state of Georgia now should start up a program with Cuba, right? We will take every anti-Castro Cuban dissident that you have, millions of them, and let them flood Georgia because they're all going to vote Republican. And then you do a thing with Eastern Europe. Eastern Europeans are like the most conservative people ever, Jerry, because anybody who's actually lived under a communist regime understands how awful it is, and they want the exact opposite of that. Like anything that resembles socialism, they want don't want that, and so they're naturally inclined to vote Republican. So that's what Republicans should start doing. They should start encouraging immigration from places like Cuba and Romania or Russia or someplace where people hate communism more than anything, and get them in here. You got to play them at their own game, Jerry. You can't just complain about open borders.
See that the solution is not more illegal immigration. The solution
legal.
The reason that Republicans did so well in Congress and added seats when all the experts and pollsters said they were going to lose like dozens of seats, the reason that the margin is so slim for Nancy Pelosi now is because of the Democrats tacked left so far, so hard. They mean they're admitting it now. Defund the police. James Clyburn said cost them the Senate seat in North Carolina and maybe in Georgia. Defund the police. They have a big defund the police guy now in Reverend what's his name, Warnock.
Yeah, he's
in Georgia. Big defund the police guy. We'll see how that goes. I mean, Antifa. In the end, Antifa, BLM, defund the police did not help. It hurt them, and we need more of that. We need AOC and Ayanna Pressley to grab more power and higher profiles, because most people in America realize that they're nut jobs on the fringe. They don't want. I mean, do you think AOC forget nationally? Do you think AOC or Ayanna Pressley could win a statewide election.
No,
maybe.
I don't think they could win any. I don't think if she ran against Chuck Schumer, she would get killed if she ran for the primary.
And
There.
I've gone over this before. The numbers in the primary, where she won in the primary. That's the general election didn't matter, and it never matters for her. But she won I don't forget the number, 30,000 votes. That's it. That's it. And she's now one of the most powerful people in America because 30,000.
Is she?
Yes.
Is she one of the most powerful? How do you figure she's one? What power does she have?
She has the power of the bully pulpit, man. She just.
I mean, she gets a lot of the power of the likes and retweets. I'm not sure she has actual power. As Nancy said, there's like 4 of them, Jerry. She
has power. She's getting Republicans elected. Give her credit.
That's true. And we want her. She's a gem. She's a beaut. Keep her around.
I want to get to post-presidency Trump because this makes me laugh. The thought of here's what I really am hoping for. And the rumors out there that he's going to start having rallies. I mean, his first rally should be in Georgia, somewhere in a real red section of Georgia where you can get 30,000 people to show up. And it will be under the guise of supporting Loeffler and Perdue, which is important. But then he's just going to go off. When Trump realizes that he can't win, he's going to go off. I mean, he's going to list. I think he realizes it now, Jerry. He's going to talk about dead people voting. He's going to know all the ways they cheated him. They kept the ballots open. They kept the polls open after deadline in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. He's going to talk about backdating. He's going to talk about the people, the sworn affidavits from postal workers and poll workers who will be documented the cheating. It's out there. I mean, if you want to pay attention, if you're not watching CNN, if you're watching us, or you're watching Tucker, or you're reading the New York Post, you're learning just how widespread the cheating was, and Trump knows it, and he's going to go through it step by step. That big screen that he kept bringing around on the road to show all the bumbling, stumbling things that Biden did? He's going to put it up there and have all these people talking about ways and he's going to list the dead people who voted. It's going to be just performance art. That's going to be wild. He's going to do a few rallies, and then the big one's going to come on January 20th in Washington, D.C. The inauguration is going to be taking place at Capitol Hill, and then wherever, 2 miles away, Trump's going to hold a rally, and the whole city is going to be one big street fight. It's going to be people. I've been in an inauguration. When it's over, you just walk the streets and everybody's kind of on the same side. For Trump, it was all the Trumpkins were roaming around. There were Antifa scum and BLM, and there were a few fights here and there. There was a big protest outside the Trump Hotel. But this time you're going to have 50,000 Trumpkins, and I don't know how many people go to the Biden inauguration. I guess all the government workers will be there, and all the unemployed supporters of Biden will show up. So it'll be 50,000 here, 50,000 there, and they'll just clash all day. Hopefully it's a nice day in DC because it's going to be a blast. But he's going to hold rallies, which will be great because he'll hold nothing back, and he's going to be on TV, and his surrogates are going to be on TV, and maybe he buys or invests or takes over. I don't know, Newsmax, my network, that I'm regular on. And just says, I'm going to scorched earth. I don't know how long the entertainment value lasts, but for a while, it will be pretty entertaining.
Well, that's what Axios is saying. So Axios is saying he's going to hold rallies, and at the rally, his enemy is not necessarily the Democrats for stealing the election. His enemy is Fox News at these rallies for allowing the enemy to steal the election and have a voice to do so.
Oh, yeah, they're on the list. They are on the list. And he knows who it is, too. He knows Chris Wallace, Chris Steyerwalt, Neil Cavuto. He knows these double agents are embedded in Fox that were trying to undermine him. I mean, we all know what a snake Chris Wallace is, but he also knows they called the state of Arizona prematurely, which he's hoping to win that. It won't matter, but if he wins that, that's going to be a real blow to Fox, their credibility.
Does this make you feel better, though? Like if he goes out in a blaze of glory, like this makes you feel better? Why? Why does this make you feel better?
Why do you want him to write a nice note to President Biden?
I don't understand. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just performance art, and at the end of the day, Joe Biden's going to be president, and that sucks. Why are we doing this thing where we're like pretending like, oh yeah, it's like complaining about the refs after a loss, right? Like a bad loss, and you're like, well, the refs really screwed us. We would have won without it. Yeah, but you didn't. So
It's not about the refs, unless the refs were on the take. It's about subterfuge. It's about cheating. It's about lying. It's about crimes. And you want them to just get away with it? You want them to just go quietly? That's what you prefer?
I mean, who won the World Series in 2017? The Houston Astros, right? Ultimately,
yes, right. And everybody knows they cheated, and sometimes they get people thrown at their heads.
Yeah.
So your only argument is that what he's doing more damage to the party by just whining about it?
I just think that no. My point is that like we're gonna get excited about it for what? Because we ultimately we're just celebrating a loss in a different way. That's all this is. These rallies celebrating a loss.
I mean, I had this back and forth with Jeff Jacoby from the Globe, who I like, but he is, he's a Globey at heart, because he really thinks Trump should be above it all. And
no, I don't think he should do that. Screw that.
Write a nice note to Joe Biden and leave it in the drawer in the Oval Office and say, "God bless you. Good luck." Screw that. He knows that Biden was part of the cabal that tried to destroy his presidency before he even took office. He knows Biden orchestrated the scheme to frame General Flynn. He knows that. And you expect him to walk out and just give up with dignity?
No, I don't expect him to do it, but I'm just like, I just don't see much to celebrate. It seems like people are happy about that. Like, I would never want to go to a rally with that, because ultimately I know in the back of my head it doesn't matter, because Joe Biden still gets to win.
Correct. Joe Biden gets to win, but you want to taint that win. That's like they did to him. And also,
with us, we already think it's tainted.
Okay. Again, I ask you, what's your option? You want him to pretend that he's okay with it? Shake hands? You want him to go to the inauguration and shake hands and give him a hug, man hug, and say, "Good luck, Joe. You stole the election, but best of luck." That's what
he should
want.
booby trap the White House on the way out. Set up a bunch of, whoopee cushions
like
and stuff like that. Something.
The Bush, like the Clintons did the Bush. Pour super glue in the desks and on the keyboards.
Did
or
he really
do
do that?
Obamas and steal all the good china. Or was that the Clintons? Who stole the good china? Was it the Obamas? It was some Democrat. But yeah, that's what he should do. That'd be good. Maybe leave a note. Leave an 8-ball on the desk for Hunter. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, I'm not like against fighting this, and I'm not acting like people are like, oh, you want Trump to be like Mitt Romney. No, I don't want that at all. I enjoy this. I can't take the satisfaction in it that other people seem to have, because at the end of the day, I know that it sucks. It freaking sucks. The bad guys freaking won, and I just don't see a cause to celebrate there. And that seems like what you guys want to do.
Good, because you can only have 10 people. You can't have a real celebration.
Oh, okay. And speaking of, can I ask you a question, Jerry? We have these new rules in Massachusetts, right? 9:30 curfew, groups, all 7. What time do the Patriots play on Sunday?
8:20.
Okay, so there will be probably hundreds of people there working, right? Do they have to go home?
Yes, the game has to end at 9:30, and everyone has to go home.
But that brings up a good point. I mean, why are the Patriots and the Ravens and the media covering them exempt from the rules that the rest of us have to follow?
It's a good question, but I looked at the rule of the curfew. It's so ridiculous. Charlie Baker's such a clown. It exempts you if you go to the store for groceries after 9:30. You're allowed to do that, and get this: you're allowed to break curfew to walk your dog. So you can walk your dog at 11 o'clock at night, but you can't. You can't have a beer at an outdoor, patio bar, or some chicken wings at a restaurant in an outdoor table.
What if you're going to meet a chick that you met on Craigslist?
That's okay. That's okay.
Just making sure, because Fauci says you can have sex.
All right, I'm going to tell you what you cannot do. It's against the rules. I'm actually surprised that this guy got punished for this, because he is a good liberal. But we're going to tell you what happened to Jeffrey Toobin, the mad masturbator at CNN and the New Yorker. But first, I'm going to tell you about Shea Concrete and what they can do for you. Shea Concrete can build you a building, which is pretty exciting. You need a building, you call Shea. All right, a couple more things to get to. We got to get to the biggest dink in the Boston Globe, which was which you blogged about, which was a great story. But first, I was shocked. Jeffrey Toobin is a good liberal. I mean, he hates Trump more than anybody. He's just a typical liberal. He got caught giving it a grab on a Zoom call with his coworkers at the New Yorker. My theory was he did it on purpose, because it was kind of a thrill. He did it quickly. He pretended like he didn't know the camera was on, but he's like, people that do that out in public. It's thrilling. It's dangerous. Got caught. His coworkers saw little tubby, and they saw him, beating it. They fired him after 27 years. The New Yorker fired this scumbag, which I didn't think he ever got. CNN has yet to make a call. He's been at CNN for like 17, 20 years. He's still an employee in good standing at CNN. And I think he's going to survive. I'll tell you why. You know what he did at CNN in the past? He knocked up his coworker's daughter, his coworker, Jeff Greenfield. You know that other moonbat political analyst, Jeff Greenfield?
I'll take your word for it.
He knocked up his daughter. Now, Tubin is married. Then he tried to get her to get an abortion, and she refused. Then he denied the baby was his, and she sued him and proved it, and he had to pay child support. And the kid is like, occasionally, I think he, sends him a birthday card or something. He's a scumbag of the highest order. And CNN has yet to fire him, even though they know he pulled out his wiener on a Zoom call with a bunch of women and was playing with himself. But again,
wasn't there also, this is even worse on Tubi, wasn't there an article like in Gawker or something about like all his fetishes and shit like that? Isn't that a thing?
I missed that. I was hoping you would cover that, the fetish beat. I missed that, but I'm not surprised. He is a creep and a scumbag, and I was shocked the New Yorker fired him. But how would you even know?
That article came out, that Gawker article about his fetishes came out like 10 years ago. So why CNN is giving this guy the benefit of the doubt that he didn't do that for some kind of sexual pleasure and it was just an accident?
Who was on the Zoom call?
A bunch of women, not Jane Harmon, a bunch of these moonbat, old, wrinkly, liberal.
They're old?
I don't know if all of them. The Zoom call was a simulated simulation of post-election coverage, and he was supposed to play the judge if the election was challenged in court. They each were role playing, and he was supposed to be the judge because he's a legal analyst. And then they went to him on the Zoom call, and he was naked, and he was pulling it, and in front of all his coworkers. And then he said, "Oh, I'm sorry."
I got to hear what Turtle Boy's what he was just alluding to. What he can't masturbate to old women or something like that?
No. My point here is that, like, okay, so when you're cranking it, obviously you're gonna need something to work with. And was he jerking off to the women on the Zoom call? That's what I'm getting.
The theory is, we don't know, we don't have detail, but the theory is that he had another computer there, and he was either watching porn or had one of those, phone sex.
He wanted them to see. He thought it was hot. He's a freak. He's a freak.
He was masturbating to them. It's that he was masturbating and he wanted everyone to see it. That was
right. Well, he wanted the women to see it. He got off on that, and he was like, kind of like seeing, like, well, we'll see where this goes. Maybe, maybe they want, like, sometimes these people, these creeps, and I write about these guys a lot, but guys that just send women dick pics all the time. They're so in love with their own genitals that they think that women, just the sight of them just gets them ready. Just gets them, oh my God, did you see Jeffrey's thingy? Oh my freaking God, I can't stop thinking about it. That's what, in his mind, that's what they think, that how these people will view that.
It is amazing, and it is a definite fetish, a weird little kink, because think of the last thing that you would want someone to see you doing. I mean, obviously, you want people to see you in the bathroom, on the toilet, but would you want anyone to see you giving it a grab? I mean, that's so. I mean, the idea.
We've been over this, Jerry, didn't we? In the infancy of this podcast, they gave you a lecture about dick pics.
Yes.
You don't get it. You don't get it.
No, I do.
You're not part of this generation.
I get it. I agree with you. I just can't relate to it. The idea that someone could see me, watch me doing that like a neighbor, that would be my worst nightmare.
Well, you don't send it to your neighbor. You just send it to somebody you trust.
I'm not talking about sending a dick pic. I'm to someone watching me do that.
Well, it's like that.
It's like in the when we were at the Legacy Club, that naked chick that I was watching out the window. She was doing that to appease me. I wasn't watching her. Like, she was showing me something. It was the opposite of what was happening.
There's nothing more unattractive than a guy, pleasuring himself. It's disgusting.
Depends if he asks the right girl. Depends. You'll get mixed reviews.
Old. This guy's 60 years old, and he's just this old.
Yeah, nobody wants to see Jeffrey. That's the thing about Jeffrey too. But like, nobody wants to see your old ass doing that. Come on,
there's such an internet thing, by the way. I've never met a female that was like, yeah, I like dick pics. Please send me a dick pic.
Oh, you're talking to the wrong girls then, my friend.
They're not, they're not attractive things. They're very unattractive things. But we'll defer to Turtle Boy. That's his beat. He's the dick pic expert. He knows this. But I do agree with you. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, he got caught." He didn't get caught. He did it on purpose.
He loved it. It made him. It was so hot to him. He was taking it. He was like, "Let's bring this to the next level. Let's see where this goes. Let's just throw it out there. I'm Jeffrey fucking Toobin. I can afford to lose this job anyway. Maybe maybe something wild will come of this. Maybe there'll be an orgy at the end of this." That's what he was thinking in his head.
And he doesn't think they're going to fire him. This stuff he's done before, and he's still a man in good standing. I mean, who was the writer? Was it the Daily Beast writer? It said, "Let's face the hard truth. Everybody does what Jeffrey Toobin did," as if giving it spanking it in private is the same as doing it on a Zoom call with your coworkers. But anyway, it's good to see them fire him. Hopefully CNN fires him. Hopefully he lives a miserable life because he's a friggin' dirtbag, an absolute dirtbag. Maybe it'll give him more time to spend with the child he denied fathering for years. But let's get to another quality individual, Kevin Paul DuPont of the Boston Globe. Now, when he worked at the Boston Herald, he was Kevin DuPont. Then when he got a job at the Globe, he became Kevin Paul DuPont, because that's what you do when you work at the Globe. He's been writing for them for like 30 years. No one's ever read anything he's written. He covers the Bruins. He gives you these, the Bruins notebook from Columbus when they're taking on the Blue Jackets on Tuesday night in February. I guess Dave has read all his notebooks, but for the most part, he's just this nobody hockey writer who's frustrated because he's old and he's almost done and no one's even noticed that he's alive. So he gets very frustrated and he takes it out on readers or, tweeters or followers who don't, agree with him completely politically. He's obviously works at the Globe. He's in the cult. Big liberal. He blocked me. I used to know him and we got along fine. I don't remember even tweeting or talking about him. And one day I just noticed that he blocked me. So he's one of them. But so a follower, as usual, he was celebrating because he's a Biden guy and he was happy they stole the election. He's happy we got lockdowns coming because he works at the Globe, which isn't a real job. Anyway, a follower said, "You should stick to hockey." That's it. Which I get like 10 times a day. Stick to this or that. Stick to hockey, which because the guy doesn't agree with him politically. He's a hockey guy, a hockey coach, high school hockey coach, and a hockey fan who likes DuPont's hockey coverage and doesn't like his politics. And all he said was stick to hockey. So DuPont, being a typical Globe sensitive bully, says, "I'm going to try and ruin this guy, this hardworking high school hockey coach." Do I have that right, Turtle Boy?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You said that you get him all the time too, and I hate to say it, you just got you work for the Globe. You have 34,000 followers. You got a blue check mark. This guy has 300 followers. It's not fighting fair when the two of you go at it because you have a much bigger stage, and you're doing it to basically shame him. He probably gets troll comments like that all the time. Are you going to do this to every single person that says something negative about you? You're going to go through their life and find out where they work and shame them on your platform? Because that's what he ended up doing.
And the guy is not, I hope he doesn't get fired, the hockey coach, but he literally, it's one thing if someone writes to you on Twitter, and I get it all the time, and so do you, it says, "You're a no good piece of shit and you suck and I hate you. Hope your whole family dies." And you can block them or you can ignore them. But when a guy says stick to hockey and you can't take that, that's your job, to be a little bit more thin-skinned than that and be able to handle a little bit of criticism. I'm sorry.
Instead, what did this asshole do? He goes through all of the guy's old tweets. And I went through the guy's old tweets too. He responds to liberals a lot. He just responds. He's shouting in the dark. Nobody likes or comments on any of his stuff because he doesn't have any followers. He has no influence. He's literally just a guy on Twitter shouting into the void. He means nothing. And DuPont goes through all his old tweets and finds one from a week ago in which he responds to the Boston Globe, an article about Elizabeth Warren. And he says, "Did she do a tribal Indian dance for them in celebration?" And because KPD is so internet deficient, he takes out he doesn't know how to screenshot. He takes out his goddamn cell phone and takes a picture of his computer, knowing that the guy will probably delete it after he shames him. And then tweets it out. It's like, "Oh, here's what you said." The guy said, "Did she do a tribal dance for them in celebration?" Which to me, it's not even racist at all because this woman lied about being Indian for how long? That seems a lot more racist than a guy mocking her for being racist, and
It's-
now he's
it's-
trying to get him fired.
The Liz Warren thing is always funny because they don't know how to handle it. Like they go nuts when Trump calls her Pocahontas. They tried to cover for her. They lied for her for years. She got caught. She lied about her ethnicity for decades. She made made millions, got a Senate seat under false pretenses. What she did was as underhanded and scummy as it gets, and yet they want to blame the guy that gives her a nickname, or makes a joke. She's the one that said she was Indian when she's not. And the Globe, it frustrates Globies so much because that's their hero. They adore Liz Warren, and they know that other people don't. Like she finished third in the primary in her home state, despite the Globe lying about her and helping her as much as they could. I love when this topic becomes Pocahontas because they can't handle it. And
no, they can't. But that's whatever it is. The point is that this guy with this influence in this platform is using it to try to get some hardworking guy from Malden, a football coach who's probably well liked and well respected. He wants him fired. You know why? Because this is a class issue. These people like Kevin Paul DuPont are unloved. They've never created anything in their entire lives that makes them feel satisfied because nobody actually cares. Anybody could do Kevin Paul. Anybody can cover the beat for the Bruins on the Boston Globe. So you're not special for doing that. Meanwhile, this guy, he looks at this guy, this blue collar guy from Malden, who probably thousands of kids over the years have looked up to this kid as as a role model. And that's why Kevin Paul DuPont really hates him. That's why he wants him fired. And ironically, this guy at Malden probably has less job security than Kevin Paul DuPont because 6 months ago, Kevin Paul DuPont was calling for murder hornets to kill peaceful protesters.
Right.
And he kept his job.
He's another one of these people who's A-okay. If you're out there, rioting, looting, for BLM, that's okay. But he was very upset that people had a protest at the State House begging for the governor to let them go back to work and let them open their businesses. He hates that. I mean, he's such a pampered puke. Here's the real basis for his frustration. Lots of hockey fans, right, Turtle Boy? You're a blue collar guy.
I'm blue collar guy.
Lots of Bruins fans, right?
I know some, yes.
Do you know any of them who reads the Boston Globe? Do you know one Bruins fan who reads the Boston Globe?
No, because you can consume information on the Bruins for free in other places.
Right. And I mean, most Bruins fans wouldn't be caught dead buying a Boston Globe, and they certainly wouldn't subscribe to it. So he's writing for nobody. And he's 65 years old or whatever he is. And he's at the end of the road. And when they go back to playing, he's going to be in Edmonton again on a Wednesday in February. It's just a dead end. It's meaningless. His existence has no meaning, and it really, really frustrates him. That's the real problem for someone like DuPont. And he wants to ruin the life of this hardworking hockey coach because that's all he's got left. I mean, that's all he's living for at this point. It's pretty sad.
Turtle Boy, you didn't embed my favorite tweet during that interaction was when somebody from Malden Catholic agreed with KPD. So he quote tweeted it and said, "Thanks a lot, Jimmy."
I missed
very
that.
poor look. Yeah. So he's like, not only is he just doing it himself, he's quote tweeting people who agree with him then to just complete. Yeah. I mean, it's the same premise, but just
that is the worst when people do that. When you get somebody that, tweets at you like, "Thank you. I really like this piece. I really enjoyed this piece." And then they retweet it. That's like a humble, douchey way of just bragging about yourself, but it's okay because someone else is bragging about you. You're just retweeting them. What a pretentious douchebag. He's done nothing. He's got 45 years at the Globe. Name one thing he's famous for. One thing.
You can't. Well, there was that time he wrote that story about the third pairing, defense pairing.
Oh,
and they
yes.
did a hell of a job.
Yes.
In that second round playoff series against the Islanders in, I think it was in 92. The defense pairing, they really buckled down. He said that they grinded. They did.
Yes, they need to keep pucks on net out of the zone.
Yes, they put some pucks on net.
Passes.
The Bruins just this last playoffs had a pretty compelling story, right? Their starting goaltender had some kind of meltdown or family, whatever it may be, but I don't remember one thing KPD had with that story or one thing.
See, that would have been interesting, getting to the bottom of what the hell happened to Tuukka Rask. We don't know.
Strange how that works. Yeah.
By the way, they never covered that story. I mean, there's two Globe guys. I mean, Matt Porter also covers the Bruins. We know what a fraud that douchebag is.
That's true.
What do they need two guys at the newspaper to cover the Bruins for, especially in the off season?
I don't know, but it's not going to last forever. Here's what's going to be fun. I'm going to transition to this before we wrap.
Oh, you're
this
transitioning.
up.
Okay.
I'm
Right.
transitioning because the Boston Globe, and the Red Sox, same thing. Same. That's why nobody reads about the Red Sox in the Globe either, because they know it's owned by the owner. The team owns the Globe. The Globe owns the team. It's, not really, you're not getting exactly balanced, objective coverage. But anyway, they brought back the cheater, Alex Cora, who was, everyone knows, the mastermind behind the cheating of the 2017 Astros. They won a World Series. Because of that, he got the job in Boston. He brought that method to Boston. They won 108 games, and they won a World Series. So say what you will about Cora. He's really good at what he does, which is cheating, which is stealing signs and somehow relaying them to hitters. It works. They set all kinds of records. Everybody knows they were cheating, except, if you really like Alex Cora and you work for the Globe and you work for John Henry, you say, you know what? I don't think he did it when he came to Boston.
Well, we
He
just don't
said
care.
this. They brought him to Boston. I mean, they rehired him, and they rehired the guy they blamed it on, that guy, J.T. Watkins, the alleged clubhouse guy. They blamed it all on him. They brought him back too. So John Henry, it's almost fitting that John Henry and Tom Warner, two big Biden guys, brought a cheater back during this week. But 2 days ago, I believe, when Cora met the media, he'd said that he didn't cheat in Boston. He said, nah, I'm not going to do that in Boston. It worked in Houston, worked wonderfully. We won the World Series. We set records. Came to Boston, again, won a World Series. But he said, I didn't want to do it in Boston. Here's the explanation. I'm reading Jen McCaffrey from, what is she from? The Athletic. She said, Alex Cora said, I didn't feel like we needed to do something like that, honestly. I know people will not believe me, but, why not bring it here? It was that effective. I don't know. I just decided in that offseason to not bring it here. We had some conversations in spring training with the GM, Dave Dombrowski. I think at that point, people were starting to talk about what was going on around the league. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. The Red Sox organization was very loud and clear about the whole sign stealing stuff and what happened before. And they walked me through it. In those meetings, it was like, wow, I better not even try to do something like that here. So this guy claims he came to Boston, again, won a franchise record number of games, just dominant. He said he didn't want to do it here because, the GM and some of the other people in Boston said you might not do it, but you shouldn't do it there. And people, I assume the people in the media, at the same organization, by the way, that used Apple Watches illegally to steal signs, to relay signs in 2017. In 2018 said, no, we will do no cheating here. No, we're the Red Sox. We don't cheat. We just win, record number of games and win the World Series. But the guy who was the mastermind of the scheme in Houston came to Boston the next year, set all the records, and they expect us to believe he just swore off all that cheating. He went cold turkey and said, not me. I'm not going to cheat in Boston. They don't condone that kind of thing.
Well, he's not going to win much of the current roster he has anyway, so what does it matter? All the trash cans in the world and Apple Watches
aren't going to
matter.
He did it, though. I mean, he succeeded in doing what he did.
In the past.
And
talk about the future.
And I mean, everyone knows, Turtle Boy, they fired him. And he says he didn't cheat. So he expects us to believe they fired him for what he did at his previous job.
I mean, the bottom line is he's going to lose anyway when he gets here. This roster is so bad, and they're going to be so bad for so long that they're going to fire him right when he can't win. He's not like he's going to win games here, is he?
I guess not. I guess, he'll get his comeuppance. Do
you even want the Reds? I almost prefer the Red Sox being bad. It's more fun because I don't want to root for them. They're such an evil, despicable organization.
Right. They're just not good people. I don't think anybody's really rooting for them. People, who don't really pay attention. But if you pay attention and you understand, what Henry and this whole crew is like, nobody's really rooting for him. It's amazing. They won 4 World Series and nobody likes him. Nobody's rooting for him. That's why they hate Bob Kraft, because people love Bob Kraft. Exactly. It is strictly from jealousy that John Henry wants Kraft to crash and burn. That's why he wanted more than anything. Let's bring this all full circle, Turtle Boy. That's why they did everything in their power, including petition the court to get their hands on Bob Kraft's dick pics. John Henry wanted.
Told you people want to see dick pics. I told you. Shirley Leung does.
Guys.
Shirley Leung does. She couldn't wait. She couldn't wait for the Bob Kraft dick pics.
Oh, she tried. Well, you can read all about Kevin DuPont, the biggest dink at the globe. That's a temporary title. Someone will knock him off of his perch at the Globe because there's a whole bunch of them over there, and someone will wrest the title away from KPD any day now. I can promise you that. But you can read all about what a dink DuPont is at tbdailynews.com, or you can follow Turtle Boy on Twitter, which is what again? Turtle Boy on Twitter.
TB_Aiden.
At TB_Aiden. Get him while you can, because he'll be banned any day now. It is amazing you've lasted this long, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's hard to rebuild. I'm not going to lie. I hate begging for like retweets and stuff like that, but it's really hard for people to find you. It's like annoying, but
I retweet you all the time.
You're one of the good ones, Jerry. You're one of the good ones.
And I don't do it just because, we're friends. I do it because the stuff you tweet and the stuff you write is just, it's good journalism. You are, again, the best. You might be the only journalist left in New England. You're certainly worth reading, especially because it's free, unlike the Boston Globe. This commenter on Facebook says the Globe on Sunday costs $6. Did you know that?
$6? That's what a newspaper costs?
That's what this guy says. I mean, I can't believe. And can you believe anyone would go in a store and buy the Sunday Globe for $6?
My kids don't know what a newspaper is. Like, they were watching Peppa Pig the other day, and the dad is reading a newspaper, and they're like, "What's a newspaper?" I'm like, "Oh, thankfully you'll never have to find out."
I know, isn't it amazing? I used to read 5 or 6 a day. I'd buy all the kind. Now I don't remember last time I've touched one.
Who buys the news? Like, who sits down in their lazy boy and reads the newspaper? People do that still?
I will answer you. Nobody does it. It's unfortunately nobody even. I wish I occasionally read the Herald, but nobody reads the Globe anymore. It's just a little vanity project for the Pizzutis. And I'm sure they're losing. They're just setting money on fire every day, keeping people like KPD on the payroll. But all right, Turtle Boy, thanks, man. Hey, keep those family gatherings under 10 this weekend.
You too.
I know you got some big plans, but under 10, only 2 hours at a time, or else we're calling the rat line, the snitch line on you.
In a dry place. Keep your masks in a dry place and keep those dogs away from strangers, Jerry.
Anybody touch their mask more than Joe Biden? He wears a mask everywhere. And the whole time he's got it on, he's moving it, touching it, and moving it, and touching it. You're not supposed to touch your mask, Joe. That's against the rules. Don't you know that? Don't you listen to your own task force? All right. Turtle Boy, thanks, man. And thanks to Shea Concrete and Allied Paving. And thanks to TCU. And thanks to everybody for listening. Please subscribe. We need you to subscribe and tell a friend. That's important. Anything else, Cullen? What I miss?
I will send both of you guys the link to Judge Janine's cameo videos because I know.
We never got to that. We'll do that.
Before we started, you guys were requesting that. So $249, it's a bargain. You can get Corey Lewandowski for $70, but I think Judge Janine.
You're telling me someone pays $250 to get Judge Janine to say happy birthday?
It's bargain of the century, actually. That's what I'm telling you.
$250. Yeah. How much does it cost to get like Bobby Orr?
That's a good. I don't think Bobby Orr's on Cameo. Unfortunately, we should get him on that.
Corey Lewandowski, you have to pay $80 for him to say happy birthday to somebody.
Yes. Yep.
Drew Bledsoe cost $250. I know this YouTube channel that shall not be named that actually paid $250 for Drew Bledsoe to say congratulations on 11,000 subscribers. It's pathetic. I know. It's really pathetic. I don't know. You have to be really bad. You probably lost 2 kids if you did something like that. That's how bad you are.
Well, you see, somebody yesterday got Rick Grinnell to wish a happy Veterans Day to William Calley, the war criminal that killed all the civilians in the Vietnam. They set him up.
Get out!
They set him up because my uncle, Lieutenant Calley, whatever, was a big fan of yours. Could you wish him a happy Veterans Day? And he did it. And he didn't know. I mean, I guess it's funny. But
That's brilliant. Brilliant.
but it doesn't really inflict.
Now
a
you
lot
got
of-
me thinking. Now you got me thinking. I can.
I
have
would,
some
yeah, I
fun.
would definitely pay $250 to have Turtle Boy just yell at me as if I'm some ratchet. That's what. That's
I'd
what
like to
I'm-
do that. Maybe I should start selling that. Like,
Should.
give me some, put some money in the machine, and I'll just degrade you.
Without a doubt.
You're always looking for another angle, another revenue stream. You should do that.
True.
Degrade me.
I like the way you're thinking, Cully. That's why we keep
There
you
you
around.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, guys, and thanks to everybody for listening. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again soon.